what would be your message to external developers, DevOps engineers, cloud engineers working out there? Why should they come and join your practice at Srijan'c?
Okay, so firstly, in case you would like to work in a culture with a high amount of responsibility, right, with a support system, obviously, that's where basically we bring on the table. Technical is like other part of it, right, like Kubernetes and like Kubernetes and all other stuff. Like in case someone has that particular willingness to own a large system and with a high degree of responsibility, right, that is something I would sort of say, right, that because that is something which we actually do. And then from a learning perspective, right, since Rajeev also mentioned, right, like we are at the cutting edge, right, to Kubernetes and cloud native technologies, which we are sort of using quite well. And then just like in the DXP ecosystem, right, like we are not just using it, right, we are actually contributing back as well, right. And Spinnaker was one such tool in the cloud native ecosystem, right, which we have used it and then we knew it up to so level of, details. And we used to help people on Spinnaker channel in the public forum. Up to a certain extent, then people sort of started sending us direct messages. Then we stopped doing it. Like, hey, like I'm stuck in this issue. Can you help me? But in the public forum, we have sort of helped them. So, so basically, in case you have a high degree of work in a culture with a high degree of responsibility, work on cutting edge technology, right, and also love to sort of contribute back to open source, right, because that is something which we not just appreciate. We actually I would say reward, right? Any person who does contributions, right? Typically, what we try to do, right, like help them with a certain reward, right? Maybe it could be because back in the past, while before COVID, our entire team actually went to Kubernetes forum in Bangalore. Right? Entire Goa team and the Bangalore team went there, and the entire NCR team actually went to the Delhi one. Right? Same thing which we would like to do, right? Like whilst you're sort of working on a project and contributing back to any open source community, right? Like people who sort of do with consistency, right? Like probably what we plan to do is, right, whilst we sort of start having maybe KubeCons and DockerCons, right? The same practice which we sort of do in the DXP ecosystem, people who do contribution consistently to Drupal, right? They sort of send to DrupalCon, right? Same thing, same culture we would like to sort of apply here as well.
You are very interested to learn the stuff, at the same time do impact within the projects or within the business, right? Not the smaller scale, but the larger scale side. Yes, Srijan'c is the right choice. Especially as I said, like your opinion matters. That's very important. At the same time, we not only working on the cutting edge technologies. At the same time, we do a lot of POCs, which is like even people are not actually opting it out or not. So we do a lot of POCs around within. So it's like any tool, we try to look for alternative in more than one tool at a time. So that like we will be well prepared that actually what solution can fit for the customer. So rather than somebody is taking the decision, it's a people actually in the hand, like individual DevOps engineers or the senior DevOps engineer actually do this stuff, right? Rather than some technical architect or somebody actually doing it. So everybody owns some sort of responsibility more towards what you want to inculcate within your projects. So that usually don't happen in a lot of organizations, but it actually happens here. At the same time, for the external developers, as I said, right, like we always welcome with open hands for any developers to be part of our team. At the same time, there is a lot can be done within the Kubernetes ecosystem to, especially towards the automation stuff and everything. So if an external developer want to be part of us, that's always welcome. More towards, we have some ideas around with actually what type of automation we can bring it to the cloud, at the same time to the internal tools as well. So we could able to take your help to do the stuff. So we always welcome. Currently, we most of our DevOps engineers are a bit less coding. Yeah, we do coding, but mostly like at the Lambda level, we do the coding at some part of, but not like entirely. So any developers, internal, external ones, always welcome to the team, so that we could able to take your help to do more automation around with it. To more towards try to be very proactive at the same time. Reducing the operational expenditure, more towards like if you do automation extensively, machines don't do mistakes until we made it to do mistakes. So we want to do that, bring more automation to the platforms, and then reduce especially onboarding times towards the customers, at the same time reduce the capital expenditure as well.
Do you want to speak a little bit about any aspects on culture that you have experienced yourself as a consumer and of culture, and something you have sort of helped create, and perhaps both to you and Rajeev?
I'll take a real life example, right? And then honestly speaking, due to certain current remote setup, certain aspects do not come that clear, right? But a recent one, right? Like there was one of our team members who had actually recently quit. But after a month so, he came back. And lately what happened, one of our guy was actually, he got down with COVID. And due to which a guy who had sort of joined on that particular same day, he was put in as a replacement. And you can sort of yourself imagine, right? Like your onboarding has actually started on that same day. You're sort of put in a project which is in a really, in almost at its end.
Tough
So,
customer,
tough
project situation.
Tough project situation. Basically, in that case, what I had did, right? Basically, is the guy I'm sort of talking about. I had recently joined it. I had sort of put him at 50% capacity at two different places, and both of them had a equal priority, right? Or maybe like a competing priority you might want. And then was added a support, right? And then after that, basically, he sort of called me, right? Hey, Ashish, he sort of mentioned me like, let's not put in two different projects, right? To what? Maybe like find a replacement for in the other project, right? And perhaps like then I'm okay to sort of support both of the projects till the time one of our other team member actually sort of comes, sort of recovers from an illness, right? So such a small gesture, right? A guy who has sort of just not really just joined us, like perhaps with us for last 2 years, right? In case it is sort of showing how to say such inclination.
2 years showing so much maturity that when you're bringing somebody from outside fresh and you put him on a tough project, don't do that.
Yes.
They are coming up with advice and it's being
That's
heard.
Correct. It's being heard, right? And then that's correct.
I call that collective wisdom. I call that I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm mine for collective intelligence.
That's correct. Because back in the past, right, like all of us, majority of our team members were in Goa, right? We have actually sort of worked quite closely. So we sort of understand, right, how as an organization, how we sort of operate. Entire culture aspects of the organization eventually sort of goes to our practice as well, right?